Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rita. I am your host, and today I am pleased to welcome Tim Wilkson. He is the Director of Sales and Marketing from Coola Heli Sports. And you actually, in conjunction with Maple Leaf Adventures, have the coolest package that I have seen coming across my internet space in the last little while. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Rhea. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, I am Canadian, as you know, and Bella Coola is just around the corner from where I grew up. And I got to tell you, if you're into skiing, there are some amazing spots for some of the best powder skiing you could ever possibly go up in northern British Columbia for sure. And you guys are right there in the thick of it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're about an hour and 10 minutes flight from Vancouver, and we operate in the world's biggest heli skiing area, 3.25 million acres, which it's about 90 times bigger than Les Trois Vallées, if anyone knows that in France. So, yeah, it's pretty big.
Well, and what you've done is you've combined with Maple Leaf Adventures, they have the yacht and you have the heli skiing abilities and packages. So you've combined that. So now what you've created is the ultimate experience for the new ultra high net worth individual, essentially. You know, those people that really want to go, they want to push their limits, they want to be treated like a star when they're on board, but you've got the full package. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. Before we started operating as a commercial heli skiing business, we were doing filming, and we didn't have a lodge at the time, and we were operating off of a big yacht, and that proved really popular, and it was featured in several movies, and people thought that was really cool. And then as we became a heli skiing company, we were sort of lodged based. And business has been going really well, and we have the demand, and um, so we were wanting to bring on sort of more capacity, but of course it takes time and money to build a new lodge, and we have known Maple Leaf Adventures for quite a while, going to different travel trade shows and just yeah, meeting and getting along, and they have quite a cool fleet of yachts and catamarans, and they were like, hey, why don't we do some heli skiing off of the MV Cascadia? And we were like, oh, that sounds like a really cool idea, because for them in wintertime, it's low season. Obviously for us, it's our high season. So we've come to an agreement, and yeah, what we can offer is pretty spectacular, because yes, there are other yacht-based heli skiing, but it's usually from like a sort of a fishing trawler kind of thing, and so the standard of accommodation, the service is sort of maybe lacking compared to what we're offering, because the service, the food is going to be at least the same standard as what we offer at some of our luxury wilderness lodges. So yeah, it's definitely a bucket list item, because a lot of people, they've tried different heli skiing operations around the world, but this is something that's really unique, and it accesses some of the best terrain on the planet. Um,
Well, for the price tag, I mean, it is 319,000 Canadian dollars, which means, like a euro. Um, but for eight people, for an entire 7 days, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yep, 7 days, 7 nights, and yeah, that might give people about 8 days of skiing, just depending on the weather. Because one of the big advantages of skiing with Bella Coola Heli Sports is that even though we're remote, the closest traffic light's 400 kilometers away. Um, Even though we're remote, it's only that 1 hour and 10 minute flight to Bella Coola. And so what happens is that flight leaves in the morning, and when the guests arrive in Bella Coola, we get them trained up how to use the avalanche transceiver, how to behave around the helicopter, that kind of thing. And then we get them skiing from the airport, working their way to the yacht. So what happens is, they'll do maybe 3, 4 runs that afternoon, and after their final run, the helicopter drops them right on the heli deck of their private yacht. On That's on arrival day, and then on departure day, sort of the same thing in reverse. They pack up, they heli ski their way to the Bella Coola airport. They're back in Vancouver early afternoon, and then most flights back to Europe are in the evening. So then they can actually be flying home that night. So, you're heli skiing in the wilds of British Columbia in the morning, and then you're on the flight home that evening. So it's pretty cool. It's great to, maximize your time, even though we're super remote. Um,
Well, and I mean, this includes everything. It includes, once you get to Vancouver, it includes the price of the private jet to Bella Coola. It includes all of the flights in the helicopter. It includes your private chef. It includes your private masseuse. It includes everything. It's pretty a complete and utter complete package for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we make it easy for people. It's sort of the one price. There is a certain amount of hours included in the helicopter time, which is, fair, like an industry standard. And if people want to ski more, they can. And what's really cool too is there's a lot of unique features about our terrain, and I think one of the coolest features is that some hot springs, some natural hot springs. So the helicopter can land right on the beach. And then the guests can get out of their ski clothes, jump into the hot springs, have a soak, put their gear back on, have some lunch, or maybe fly back to the catamaran for lunch, and then fly back up into the mountains and ski on track powder. And, at the start of the interview, I was saying how we have the world's largest ski area now. And there's so much terrain there that has not been skied. So guests who chartered MV Cascadia can access, a lot of that, and yeah, they'll have first descents.
And we're talking fluffy, fluffy white powder as well. It is some of the best world-class skiing, guaranteed.
That's right, exactly. And our strength is our alpine terrain, the above tree type terrain, and it's it's perfect terrain for strong and expert skiers as well. Yeah, if you're low intermediate, yeah, I would not heli ski, but if you're a strong intermediate or better, definitely this type of terrain we have is perfect because you're up above tree line, the bowls are open, you're not forced to make tight turns, but it is actually steeper alpine terrain than you might get in the interior BC. So if you're an advanced skier, you're definitely going to enjoy it. It's very playful terrain. There's a lot of things to hit, natural half pipes and rollers and mushrooms and stuff like that. So I'm just
Well,
getting
I mean, there's some amazing, like beautiful scenery as well. I mean, you could be investigating, nature, and that evening you could be maybe doing some fly fishing as well. No?
yeah. There's yeah, I wonder about fly. We can definitely fish. I don't know about fly fishing off of the catamaran, but uh, the scenery along the fjord that we would be going up and down is stunning. So there's chances of seeing lots of sea life. Maybe not whales in this part of the channel, but dolphins and sea lions and that kind of thing. Bald eagles. There's lots of bald eagles. And the Cascadia also has the option where guests after skiing, after having some après, they can go prawning and crabbing, and catch some seafood, and the chefs will cook it up, and they can have a seafood feast for dinner, which is pretty sweet.
That is incredible. I mean, I remember the crab coming out of that area, and oh, the most amazing crab. None of this farm stuff or shipped from another country. It was fresh, and there is nothing like catching your crab and boiling it up, and a little bit of melted butter and garlic, and yeah.
Getting hungry.
I know, right? Myself as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And maybe I'll tell you a bit about the helicopter that we use. It's a A-Star, Eurocopter A-Star. And the benefit of those helis, they're powerful, but they're very nimble and agile. And we do four people in the heli with the guide. So if there's 8 guests, we would do 2 groups of 4. So if it's, say, a family group, you can, or even friends, you can break the group up by ability levels, or the type of terrain that they want to ski. So yeah, that can work out quite well, especially if there's ability discrepancies within the group. Um,
Now, I'm wondering as well, you do have safety measures in place. You do have, because there is the chance of avalanches and I mean, you know, you are in the middle of the wild with many wild animals. You've got bears, you've got grizzlies up there. There's all sorts of things that you could encounter, but you have all sorts of safety measures in place for that.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So on arrival, we go through a really thorough safety training. All our guides are all qualified, highly experienced, and you know the worst sort of that we've ever had is a broken leg. That's so knock on wood with that one. And yeah, like you know, a lot of our guides are have you know families themselves, so they're not pushing it. Even if guests are like, yeah, we want to ski that super gnarly thing. If the guide's like, you know, I'm not comfortable, even if the guests are paying, it's the guide's decision because our, you know, safety is number one over skiing, right? So,
Well,
yeah.
and realistically, it doesn't matter if you're at your local ski hill. I mean, the fact is the amount of broken legs and, you know, smashed up whatever on even the most basic ski hill, that can happen anywhere. We all know when you go skiing, you run the risk.
Yes, right. And you know, a year ago when we were talking about safety, it was yeah all about sort of avalanche and you know wildlife and all that. But now also with the pandemic, it's COVID too, right? So we've developed some really detailed protocols. And the great thing is we've had our in summer our main lodge is a wilderness viewing, especially bear viewing lodge. We do a lot of eco tours, so we've been able to implement a lot of those guidelines, you know, see how they worked, and they've actually worked out quite well. You know, if you go onto TripAdvisor and you type in Tweedsmuir Park Lodge or main lodge, you'll see guests have said, of course, it was an amazing experience, but they were super impressed with our COVID protocols. So we're pretty happy how that's rolled out, and of course we would cross that over into winter too. So you know, guides will wear masks and that kind of thing. And the beauty of chartering the yacht, that's your own social bubble too, right? So the staff will wear masks, and then when we're in confined space, everyone would wear a mask. But when you're out skiing, you could take that off, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume that out, out on the top of a mountain where there's maybe only, 8 of you, and you're not going to be skiing within 2 meters of each other because you wouldn't do that anyway. So I'm pretty sure you're going to be safe without a mask up there.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And as you know, the skiing is like amazing. And you know, we say an average is like 10 to 14 runs per day. But you know, because this would be a private group, and you know, they could even do less if they wanted to take it more easy and do a lot of more exploring. Or if they wanted to rack up the vertical, no problem. You know, they could do even more like 16 to 20 runs with a really strong group. So this is really a very customizable package. It is all about the guest, because we don't have to cater to any other guests in the lodge. It's a private experience. So yeah, we're looking forward to running it. Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, it sounds really exciting. And to be honest, I mean, it's right up my alley because that's what I'm used to. And that's how I grew up, sort of in the wilds of northern Canada. I would highly recommend anybody that has the love of yachting and the love of skiing that this would be, I think, the ultimate adventure. I mean, forget sitting around the Mediterranean like we have the possibility of doing anytime. This is a once in a lifetime experience, or perhaps twice or three times. But really, I mean, if you want to do that once in a lifetime experience, this sounds like it.
Definitely, yeah. You know, we often get people inquiring with us saying, oh, we've been heli skiing in Alaska, we've been heli skiing in Iceland and Greenland, of course, here in Canada, the birthplace of heli skiing. But yeah, they want something different, something unique, and this totally is something different and unique. And two, some other news too. Is we're now climate positive, which is better than carbon neutral. So if people are sort of wondering, okay, if you're flying around in helicopters and jet planes, they're contributing to greenhouse gases. Well, we actually offset. We had a third party measure our total emissions. Even like my drive to work every day is calculated in that. It's not just the helicopters, and we now actually offset more greenhouse gases than we emit. And so we've also teamed up with this third party where, so not only is the heli skiing component climate positive, but guests can work out emissions from, say, their hometown to Vancouver, and then pay to offset that. And actually, the pricing is very minimal too. So,
you know what, ironically enough, I just did an interview with a gentleman the other day that is doing this in Europe, and it is all about the planes. And they are offsetting and carbon offsetting with the plane rides. And he's asking everybody in the yachting industry to calculate how many flights and how many kilometers or miles they did in 2019. And many in the yachting industry are participating because, you know, the yachting industry as a whole, we rely on the oceans. And if the oceans get sick, then we're not going to be able to enjoy as much as we do at this time. So it is really, really important. And you know what, the fact that you do say that and that you do that, I think as well with, you know, the industry where it stands now is definitely a bonus and something that people are aware of.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's great we were able to sort of, give back that way. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's possible to live your best life by being kinder to the environment around you, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to provide all of your information underneath this interview in case anybody is interested in contacting you and finding out more about this once in a lifetime opportunity. So I thank you ever so much for your time.
Great. Thanks a lot, Ria. Appreciate it.
Once again, you've been watching another edition of Yacht Crew Blogs right here on Yachting International Radio. You've been listening to Tim Wilkson, Director of Sales and Marketing for Bella Coola Heli Sports. Check out the links and book yourself a spot on that yacht in the middle of Bella Coola, well, in the waters of Bella Coola. My name is Ria. I have been your host. Please tune in again for another episode.